to heal a nation is the greatest power.
Welcome to the Anu Asafo Show, where Pan-Africanism meets African traditional spirituality. Here, we present views from a wide variety of sources. And now, let's begin.
A wind of destruction is blowing over this land. And now the earth is trembling with man's oppression of man. Now the time come to sit down and rediscover what's life. Show the world the true meaning of real love, power, not strife.
And now, our African pledge by our Chief Jegna, H. Yuya Asan Anu.
We are an African people. We will remember the humanity, glory, and suffering of our ancestors. We will honor the struggles of our elders. We will strive to bring new values and new life to our people. We will have peace and harmony among us. We will be loving, sharing, and creative. We will work, study, and listen so we may learn. Learn so we may teach. We will cultivate self-reliance. We will struggle to resurrect and unify our homeland. We will raise many children for our nation. We will have discipline, patience, devotion, and courage. We will live as models to provide new directions for our people. We will be free and self-determining. We are an African people, and we will win, and we will win, and we will win. Ashe.
Today, we have a very special sneak peek of the segment Your Vital Energy by Tamu Ngina. Please check her out at tamungina.com. That is www.tamungina.com. Enjoy.
Peace and joy. Thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Tamu Ngina, and I would like to thank saduluhouse.org and anunation.org for inviting me to share my segment with you, Your Vital Energy. Today we will discuss the process of grounding, what it means, why it's important, and I will also give you just a couple of exercises to start off with. Simple exercises that you can do anytime, anywhere to help you to ground. Grounding is the process of connecting yourself to the earth. Grounding is important for your spiritual practice, and it is also important for your physical body, for your wellness, health, and well-being. The earth is covered by electrons that are negatively charged. And these negatively charged electrons help to keep us healthy. When we are not connected to that negative charge, we are subjected to oxidation and more susceptible to inflammatory issues such as achy joints, knee pain, hip pain, arthritis. Spiritually speaking, grounding yourself helps to stabilize you spiritually and emotionally. Grounding helps to calm and bring you back to center. Being connected to your center within directly connects you to your divinity. Grounding connects you to an infinite current of energy. That infinite current of energy that flows through every atom of every object on Earth and in the entire universe, animate or inanimate, such as rocks and grass and trees, oceans, rivers, mountains, mammals, people, even man-made objects, such as buildings, cars, computers. Grounding and the process of grounding entrains us, or in other words, puts us on the same energetic pathway of the Earth's frequency. Grounding provides us with an inner sanctuary from stress or emotional pain. It helps us to feel comfortable in our own bodies. It helps us to navigate our physical world as well as our emotional and mental and spiritual world within ourselves and when we're out in the world dealing with other people. Grounding is needed for everyone, especially when we are feeling rushed, stressed, overwhelmed. For those of us whose occupation it is to care for other people on a continuous or constant basis, as well as dealing with anxiety, panic, clumsiness, or just feeling drained. One of the most important and easy and best ways to ground ourselves is to walk barefoot on the earth. When was the last time you can remember walking outdoors barefoot on the grass, on the sand, or on the ground? I don't mean concrete, macadam, bricks, or the carpet in your house, but outside on the earth. It is important to spend at least 20 minutes each day barefoot on the earth. You can also lie on the grass. That's a wonderful way because your entire body is directly in touch and connected with that source of negatively charged electrons. Lying on the grass or on the ground without a blanket. If you need a blanket, use a natural fiber such as cotton, wool, or even silk, but never polyester. In the wintertime, it's not that easy to get outside and put your feet on the ground, especially when it's 20 below. Wintertime makes it more difficult for you to ground yourself outside, especially barefoot. Okay, over the next few segments, I will give you some of my tried and true methods for grounding yourself. In this first installment, I will give you just 2 simple methods to get you started that you can use anytime, anywhere. Okay. The first one is just as simple as using your breath, okay? So what I would like for you to do is put your hands on your stomach just below your rib cage, both of your hands. And what I would like for you to do is take a moment, make sure that your feet are approximately shoulder width apart, okay? And you're firmly your weight is really good and balanced over your feet, okay? So I would like for you to take a moment and exhale through your nose. Now, next, slowly inhale through your nose. Now, before you start, as you inhale, I would like for you to notice the feel of the air. Be very conscious and aware of the air as it flows into your nose. And it's going to you're going to inhale slowly into your nose, allowing the air to flow down into your stomach region, blowing your stomach up a little bit. You're filling your stomach up with air. Observe how the air pushes your stomach out. And I want you to pause. After after 2 or 3 seconds of bringing the air into your stomach, pause. And then for just a second, and then inhale more to bring the air up into your chest, okay? Now, I'll do it with you. So we're going to inhale. Pause. It's in your stomach now. Now inhale more into your chest. And then exhale out your nose. Now you're going to do this one more time. Inhale, bringing air down into your abdomen, your stomach region, watching it rise up some. If you'd like to have your eyes closed, that is perfectly fine. Bring the air up, okay, down into your stomach. Inhale, pause for 1 second. Fill up your chest with air. Inhale. And then exhale just a little bit faster than you inhaled. Now you can repeat that, okay? That is a simple grounding technique that you can do as often as you need, whenever you need. And if it feels more comfortable for you to exhale through your mouth and then inhale through your nose and then exhale through your mouth, do that. But never inhale through your mouth. Okay, the next grounding technique is called in Asian tradition as the 3 diamonds or the 3 gems. Okay, and what you're going to do, once again, stand with your feet shoulder length apart, okay, and have your right hand just below your navel region, your left hand on your heart, okay. Imagine that your feet are connected deep into the warm earth. Imagine then that you're anchored completely to the bare earth. Now exhale through your mouth. Now inhale slowly. Imagine that you're receiving vital, warm, peaceful energy, much needed healing energy up from the earth in through your feet, going up into your abdominal region and up to your heart. Okay, so you're going to inhale and then exhale. Now next, I'm going to have you keep your hands, left hand over your heart, right hand just below your abdominal region, just below your navel region. And I want you to have your head sort of balanced over your neck. And you can just imagine that the top of your head is connected to the heavens. And you're going to exhale. And you're going to inhale. Imagine peaceful energy coming down from the heavens, going into your head, into the crown of your head, down to your heart, down to your navel region. Okay, and you're going to exhale. Next, I'm going to have you inhale. And as you inhale, imagine peaceful, calming energy coming up through your feet, peaceful, calming energy coming down into the crown of your head from the heavens, into your heart, energy coming up into your abdomen from your feet, from the earth, and they're going to meet right in the center of your being. You're going to inhale that energy in, and then you're going to exhale. And as you exhale, that energy is going to disperse throughout your body. And it's going to bring peaceful, grounding, uplifting energy, grounding through the earth, uplifting from the heavens down into your head and your crown region to your heart. And you're going to exhale. So you do it once again. Inhale. Then exhale. And you're going to repeat this exercise as often as needed to regenerate you at any time. You can even do this anywhere. And if you cannot use your hands at the time, say you're on a bus or you're even driving in your car, just visualize your hands in the right movements, in the right places. Visualize the energy coming up through the earth, the energy coming down from the heavens, meeting at your heart and your navel area. And as you're doing that, you can just feel, as you exhale, you just feel that vital energy washing through you, grounding you, allowing you to feel more protected, more energized, and ready to continue the rest of your day. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to sharing more with you so that you can get the best out of your vital energy. Until next time, this is your friend, Tamu Ngina. Thank you very much. You may contact me anytime at www.tamungina.com. Thank you.
That was Tamu Ngina with the segment Your Vital Energy. Tamu is one of the student hosts of the Anu Spiritual Order. Check her out at www.tamungina.com. That is www.tamungina.com. It is currently about 15 minutes after the hour, and you are listening to Anu Asafo, where Pan-Africanism meets traditional African spirituality. And I am your host, Omi Lade. Now, our next guest is none other than Kojo Bey, the founder and head of Obey Foundation, Drums for Life, and Sounds of Africa. But before we get into that, we're going to take a short break to allow you to get your notes ready. We thank you for your listening support and urge you to become an active participating member of the Anu community. Therefore, if you would like more information on Anu events and offerings, please sign up for our newsletter at anunation.org. That is ANUNATION.org. For all those listening, if you'd like to move closer to the calculations and fundamental understandings of the Anu Order, be sure to pick up the book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. If you desire a spiritual reading to help you map your current spiritual position in the face of the world and learn the greatest pathways for your fortune in this season, or you would like to become a student of the Anu Spiritual Order, you can go to saduluhouse.org. That is SADULUHOUSE.org. If you would like to sponsor or advertise on this or any of our other broadcasts, please contact us at 1-800-ANU-LIVING. That is 1-800-268-548-464, or email us at questions@anunation.org. That is the word questions@anunation.org. For more information about Orisha and Orisha products, you can go to orishareligion.com. That is ORISHARELIGION.com. Anu Nation thanks you for your continued support. Be well.
Legbago! Legbago anya, legbago anya, alaroye masantiro, legbago anya, legbago anya, legbago anya, alaroye masantiro, legbago Alaroye Masantiro, Elegba Goanya.
That was the track Elegba from the LP Sounds of Africa from the Shores of Africa. The vocals, production, and arrangement that you heard was performed and created by today's guest, Kojo Bey. That song, as well as the rest of the tracks, are available for download on Amazon.com. Now we are going to play an interview with our guest, Kojo Bey. Today on Anu Asafo, our featured guest is none other than Kojo Bey. Kojo Bey has been performing and teaching African drumming as a healing art for 20 years. He has facilitated drum circles at Fortune 500 companies such as ESPN, Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, Bank of America, Verizon, and others. Kojo's early understanding about the healing of music led him to study with master teachers from around the world. He is the co-founder of Sounds of Africa drum and dance troupe and has played with master drummers such as his father, Baba Abishai bin Reuben, Yumusa Kamara, Kahindi Ohubru, Chief Bey, and Okirima Pra. You will often hear Kojo sing out Ashe, which is Yoruba for power or so be it. He believes that the power in the drum is unleashed when the drummer's heart is filled with love. You can find Kojo leading drum circles throughout the U.S. to support humanitarian efforts, both domestically and abroad, for the non-profit organization he founded 16 years ago, the Obey Foundation. Kojo Bey is the founder of Drums for Life and invites you to open your mind, body, and spirits and experience to the drum. Please let's welcome today Mr. Kojo Bey. Kojo, I know our introduction of you was a bit sparse, as it does not encompass everything you do. Can you tell us more about yourself and Sounds of Africa?
Sure, well, I'm Kojo Bey, and I was really brought into the drumming and dance way from my father, Abishai bin Reuben. He resides in Mount Vernon, New York. That's where I was born. And my aunt, my mother's sister, Tanya Jackson, they were in the troupe together when I was young, the African dancing drum troupe, led by Kojo Bey from St. Kitts. And she was teaching at a co-op college right in Mount Vernon when I was young. And she was the one that taught as a community concept. She was really trying to pull together those in the community that was interested in the dance and drum world. And so my father and my aunt ended up linking up there together, taking classes, and subsequently they joined her performing troupe. So when I was visiting with my father or I was with my aunt, they would bring me around. So that was my, initiation into that world. Although I wasn't brought in as a player or a dancer,
Okay.
it was saturated energy that I was exposed to, going to performances and being there with the rehearsals and there for ceremony. So the drum and the I started drumming with a master dancer by the name of Abayomi Goodall. She was with the Calabash, women of Calabash for years in Brooklyn. And she was out in Vegas. I was there doing community work, had some drums. We started Nevada's first African dance and drum troupe, and did that for a few years, and decided I wanted to come back east and be fed. You know, instead of just feeding, there's not a lot of feeding going on out there in Vegas for someone that's cultured. So I came back and went through some classes and started linking back up with my family, and we had a family meeting and decided we wanted to put together a mechanism where we can move around to communities and share what we've been living throughout these years, which the expression became the African dance expression. And so, you know, it started with co-founders were myself, my mother, my father, and the group consisted of all my family members, my brother, my cousin, and my aunt, who was in the original group with my father, and my queens, and that was the start of Sounds of Africa. So it really was, you know, when you talk about the family coming together to talk about what needs to be done within the family and healing that needs to be done, and then taking it out to the extended family, we truly did that. We set up the Elders Council with our family. We met regularly, and we talked about what our first expression would be, and that was Sounds of Africa.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So, can you tell us what is the spiritual significance to the expression of, drumming and dance, and how is it a healing art form?
Well, the healing art form. Let me repeat the first part again for me.
Okay, so what's the spiritual significance, do you believe, of drumming and dance? And then how does that, based on that significance, how does it become a healing art form?
Well, I tell you, just the first part, I think for me, it changes constantly. And mostly it changes for me, the spiritual significance changes for me because I'm always changing, and I'm open for change. And I work with a lot of young people, and you know, when you work with young people, you have to be flexible.
Right. Yes.
And so the children teach me every time I do a class, they teach me something new about this art form and this tool. So I don't think I can give you one clear answer, but I will say that one clear use of the drum when we talk about spirituality has been to help to bring about a focus.
Right.
I'm having an issue with my wife. Can you help me with this? And they might give them an answer, right? Because you recognize that something is channeling through that individual. Now, all of a sudden, that rhythm and that dance means this. In order to help your wife who is barren, you need to do this dance and this rhythm. The drums and the dance tap into, help us to create vibrations that tap into the invisible world and that unseen energy that we talk about, when we talk about spiritual matter. The second part of your question was again?
So they're tapping into the spiritual matter, then how does the drumming and the dance become healing? Which I think you started to touch on.
Right. And so then, again, everyone comes to the drum for different reasons. And I can give, countless testimonials of people that told me that they were dealing with pressure, high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. And after drumming with us in drum circles or drum class for a month or two, their doctors have told them that their pressure has been regulated and is in a safe place where they haven't done anything different in other parts of their lives or their diet, but the doctor said there's something that you're doing differently that you need to continue to do, and they said, wow, we started to drum. So that was clear, with areas where you need to calm yourself down, you need to relieve stress. The drums have been scientifically proven to do that. I have a brother who, he came into this world with incredible energy. And of course, diagnosis was ADHD and hyperactivity, and they want to put him on the Ritalin and all this other stuff. Teachers are not trained to really deal with that. And I was just coming from out west at UNLV, coming back east to try to settle in and start my business here back east. Mm-hmm. And my mother, I could see the frustration. She had to cut down her hours at work to go into the classroom to help this teacher to help my brother. And, she knew it really wasn't fair to the teacher to put it all on her because she wasn't trained in this area. So my mother wanted to be there to help out. I mean, my brother couldn't sit in his chair in the desk longer than 3 minutes. He had to get up and move around. So immediately I started working with him with the drum. And I told my mother I'm going to help her out because I know what this drum is about. And I put him on the bass drum, the doom-doom, which requires you to play the bass and the bell together. And after 6 months, it was phenomenal, how this young warrior focused on this drum. He had an outlet now, and he had something that stimulated him, that made him want to be focused. By the end of that school year, we went to the principal and told them we wanted to do a presentation for the school. They came up with a little bit of money, and I was the djembe player. I put my brother, who was just newly trained on that doon-doon and that bell, and my little cousin, she was my dancer. I had her since preschool dancing, and we went out there and played an assembly for this school, and the teachers, administrators, nurses could not believe that was the same young warrior that could not sit still for 3 minutes.
That is amazing.
I mean, we got stories like this,
Mm-hmm.
it's over and over again, and it's not me. You could just punch it in the net and see how this drum has been affecting people with their healing. And myself, I can go a week without drumming, and I know this by now, but I'll go a week without drumming just because of my busyness with what I have to do in my life. And I feel myself, I'm not quite myself. I'm not as strong. Almost feels like I'm depriving myself of some nutrients. Almost like a dietary thing. And as soon as I go to class or I start playing at home and I have, an hour or 2 hour session, it's amazing how it builds my body up. So when I read the research that scientists have done on the drums, how it actually
So if people or if individuals who are listening wanted to get started with a practice in drumming, where would you advise them to begin? Because it seems like something that everyone would want to incorporate into just their daily practice or their spiritual practice or just as an outlet.
That's a good question. I mean, I would, it definitely depends on the age of the student. If we're talking about a youth, if we're talking about, a young adult or a parent or an elder, I always suggest that you seek out a drum circle or a dance class that has live drumming. The dance class is definitely the ideal situation for a new student of the drum who wants to incorporate drumming into their spiritual practice. The dance class, you have to be involved with a group of drummers, but you are responsible for your part. So it's that interdependence concept where you have to be focused on your part, but it plays a major role in the totality of the rhythm that you're creating for the dancer. And then that rhythm, the drummers, the rhythm that the dancers are dancing to, that creates a marriage between the drummers and the dancers, and it's a healthy type of courtship that's going on. Instead of the on the street smacking, this is, I think that she's attractive, let me go pull out my A game and try to make this happen. In the dance class, it is a healthy and such a beautiful way to express courtship and to exemplify that marriage concept between the drummer and the dancer. So that I suggest would be the first step for someone to jump into that arena and don't get intimidated by these blazing drummers and these blazing dancers. Get in there and be open and just do your part. And then just like any other instrument, you need to have a drum. You need to identify the drum that resonates with you and that is in harmony with you. For me, when I'm speaking of the drum, I'm mostly speaking of the djembe drum and the dum-dum drum. They go, hand in hand. And so I would suggest you get a drum and you start learning those sounds. You learn the voice that comes off of that drum. And that, if you're fortunate enough to be able to play in your home space, then you can practice bringing out the voice of the drum. And when you get an opportunity to get the focus training, then you bring that drum out and really just be open for what is to come. Now, there are some of us that chant, some of us know different prayers. We know the different melody to different chants and songs, chant flourishes or deities. And, I've done it on other drums other than the traditional drums of, say, that system. And it certainly has worked for me and others. I wouldn't suggest that you go to your spiritual teacher and say, this is what Baba Kojo told me to do. And so, I'm going to take these chants and put it on my djembe and come out, aggressive like that. But it is definitely something that you can do. I say that only because some people may feel that, all right, I don't have a bata drum, so I can't go practicing any Shango chant. All right, I don't subscribe to that. Others I know will argue with me because that's what the rhythms traditionally have been done on. But I can sit here with my pin logo and I know the rhythms and I know the chants, and I am going to feel the presence of Shango after I finish. And you, as someone who is open and you feel it, especially with doing movements to it, you're going to feel it as well. talking about being at oneness with spirit and the Most High and the Orishas and the ancestors, you are going to be successful in realizing what you want to realize in yourself, when it comes to spirituality.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. So let's switch a little bit. Now, I understand that you have a foundation called the Obey Foundation.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that and, what the foundation is about and where it's located?
Sure. I started it in Mount Vernon, New York, and started back in 1998. And I found out that our community, Mount Vernon is very, very funny. It's 4 square miles, and it's like really a chocolate city. It's like Mecca, And there were no black foundations in the city. And not that I was rolling with all this money or had an inheritance coming to me, I did have the skills of grant writing, and I've always been like a philanthropist and humanitarian, since I was young. So my dream was to be able to give away money and to help those that were underserved.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up the foundation again. I got with my family, those who were interested and who had a couple of dollars and had some influence. And that was my initial board with all, family members. And really our goal was to bring education and culture enrichment, starting in Mount Vernon community and branching out to the communities that we had a presence in. And for me, I left Mount Vernon. My mother moved me out of Mount Vernon at an early age and brought me to Connecticut. So I graduated high school in Connecticut. So I have a lot of presence in Connecticut. But my roots is definitely Mount Vernon and Westchester. So you'll see most of what we've done through the years has been in Westchester and Fairfield, Litchfield County in Connecticut. After doing the local work, say in Connecticut, New York, tri-state areas, and then moving around different parts of the country, we traveled to Ghana.
Right.
And in Ghana, we traveled, I traveled there already in 1997 before I started the foundation, but when I went back in 99 after incorporating the foundation, I had a whole other focus because I had already been there. My first time around, I was already negotiating for land. It was one of those things that, when I touched the soil, it was on.
Right.
I was blazed and said, I want everything. I want land. I want a home. I want to set up a business here. I want my family to get here. It was on. So when I returned in 99, I started looking at what is my role out here. I know what I do in the States, but what is my role here in Ghana? And I seen that in the village that I had decided I wanted to set up, my home and a little healing house. They had a large number of orphans there.
Wow.
And so I went to the elders and asked them, what's going on as far as community needs? What's your list? If you're able to give me a list of your needs, what would that look like? And they said, well, number one, we have a number of orphans that are not in school.
Wow.
So that was the start. We set up an educational sponsorship fund, and I did that through Obey Foundation. And with the success of that, we were able to get not only all of those orphans back in school, but able to support other youth that weren't in school because of they weren't able to pay. It was about 200 children that were out of school, and we were able to get all of them in school. And so because of that, we set up Obey Youth Care.
Right.
And that is under Obey Foundation.
Okay.
And, Obey Youth Care has kind of morphed into, something program and literacy program. McLean is running that. We have Legacy, which is a right to touch program for predominantly males that have come through the court system and the great reentry. We have youth arts, which is high school age youth artists. It's set up as a competition, but we do professional development to teach them how to make a living from this on a grassroots level. And then we have the Obey Youth Care. We have Soliga Travel and Exhibit, which deals with the slave routes through Ghana. I traveled throughout all of Ghana and documented the slave routes, took pictures, and was able to secure artifacts from different villages. And came back here, got with the graphic artist, and put together this 12-panel exhibit with artifacts. And we do it, of course, through the music and dance and song, storytelling, and the factual information. So all of this is under Obey Foundation, and now newly, we just launched this in the fall, Drums for Life.
Right.
And that's what I've been working through. That's the one that I do drum therapy through. I work with certified drum therapists, and I get in there and just do what I do with the individuals and groups using the drums, hands-on healing through drumming.
That's amazing. And so,
all of that's Obey Foundation, and let me tell you, I could not have done any of that without the support of members, individuals. My board has been great as far as keeping me in line and being my advisors. I mean, since I've had people who I thought were just students in my drum classes who, was so thankful I was doing free community classes and palm me $5,000, $10,000 checks because they run foundations or, they're sitting on a hedge fund and, I had no idea just doing the work. I've been so thankful for being a conduit for what the Most High needed to do with the people that's been in my presence.
that's amazing. And I mean, how do you, or what can you tell our listeners about, because sometimes we get questions like, how did you marry both the commerce and the spiritual aspects of your business without watering down what you were delivering to the community? Because
that right there, there needs to be a course on that, because that is a constant struggle. When I think about, I tell people that I'm more of a business manager who loves culture and art, whereas I have so many people around me who are pure artists that know a little something about business.
Right.
So now I have master drummers and dancers who were, I'm talking indigenous brothers, born in Guinea, born and raised in Guinea. They get over here, speak a little bit of English. I'm definitely one of those that's fluent and broken. I can speak that broken real well. And they get on me all the time. Say, Brother Kojo, you stay busy all the time. You stay busy. Now these guys, they do these rhythms in their sleep and put me to shame the way they can play that drum in their sleep. But a lot of them aren't as busy as I am. That's because my background was in business and business management. So, but I already told you what I was exposed to early. I had that seed planted in me, so the drum and the dance was already there with me. I just needed to have the drum in front of me and have the will to make it happen. And so when it was time to set up the business, that part was easy because, I have training in that area.
right.
The tough part for me was being able to stay in that artistic mode. Because when you're self-employed, you're always working, always trying to figure out, what's next and how I'm going to get this contract together and how am I going to close this deal and the proposal, I got to finish up this proposal. So you're always working. And a lot of times that gets in the way of your So I haven't found a clear formula for it. I gotta say that. I gotta be honest about it. It is a constant struggle. But as I look at my peers in this, I can say that I've figured something out to be able to take care of my 10 children and my 2 homes and all that I do in Ghana each year.
Right. And
That's the best I can tell you. But I do not have the answer.
yes. So, for our listening audience, how can they contact you or find out more about what you do?
I would say, the Drums for Life, that's drums, plural, number 4, life.org. You go there and check out, the different pages and check out the links and then contact us and let's get some dialogue going. I have a blog as well, which you can click into from the site and Facebook. Not really tight on the Facebook social network. They've really been getting on me about that. So I'm gonna tighten that up a little bit more. But yeah, just get in touch with us through Drums for Life. I keep the calendar updated. Like I said earlier, with my business management background, I don't do a lot of public events. A lot of my stuff is private contracts.
Right.
We work with ESPN, I work with GE Capital, Verizon, do stuff with a lot of the schools in whatever district. I have homes in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I work with the school districts down here. We work with youth development centers, security facilities for juvenile offenders. So I have a lot of private contracts. In Connecticut, there's a Sono Arts Festival that happens in South Norwalk every year in August. A lot of people know us because we lead the famous puppet parade every year. And when South Africans lead that puppet parade, it becomes, this party.
Especially in Connecticut.
So, say it again?
I said, especially in Connecticut.
Yeah, exactly. They look forward to that. I mean, that's what people say all the time. The reason we come out here is to see South Africa. And it's only really for like 40, 45 minutes that we do that parade. But that's one of those public events that we do. And, we do festivals here and there. But definitely if you go to drumsforlife.org, obeyfoundation.org, you can pretty much stay in touch with me and the family here and be in tune with what we're involved in.
Okay. If you had to tell us what is your favorite group or thing to use your drums for, so healing or spirituality, what would that be?
That's a good question. I am addicted to going out to, say, one of the roughest projects in the community with my van loaded up with my drums and just open it up. Start bringing my drums out. I see a few youth out there, see a few of the brothers, hanging out. And I just start drumming. They come over, get them on the drum with me. And start seeing more people come. And then, now we're taking trips to the van to get more drums. That right there, that sends me. There's no other high than that for me. When it comes to me drumming out in the community and really being at one with my role here on this earth plane. It's totally spontaneous. You don't know how people are going to respond. You know that the average person has some anxiety of going into that kind of community and just stepping out and just putting themselves out there,
Right.
But I know over and over and over again, it's needed. Wherever, especially where Africans are, wherever there's Africans, the guardian spirits are around. So with my
Right.
And because people have been guarded by them, they know their presence, they know the energy. So they feel safe when they come over to the drums. Oh man, yo, can I get on there? Let me do that, yo, let me do that. Yeah, you get on the drum, and it's free. Yeah, I'm not out there beating nobody up like, no, you're not on the rhythm. No, this is what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have one teacher, his name is Kayende Oyuhuru. He's going to get on me if he listens to this. He's going to get on me for calling him my teacher. Because, I didn't stay with him for years and years and years. So he said, Kojo, I'm just one of them drummers that you played with. But he taught me so much about living this as a way of life.
Mm.
And one of the things, when I interviewed him for a publication I've been working on, he said, we're at a time where, when bling bling was like the term, he said, we're at a time where we have to bring the bling bling with the drumming. I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, we gotta lure them in so that we can get into their heads and their spirits about who they are and what this is about.
Mm.
We can't do it from a distance. We can't just talk to them about it because, African drums and the African culture and spirituality, it's not appealing to them. That's not the allure that's out there for them. It's the bling. So we got to go out there with these drums that are shiny and got us all hooked up, and you start playing, you're able to play them hip-hop beats and then turn them on. It's something that's familiar to them. And once you got them in, you baby them in, now it's time to go to work. Now it's time to put the stuff on them. And so, to answer your question, that right there, I love to bring my drum into settings like that. It doesn't even have to be the project. Sometimes it can just be a park, which is known to be like, not such a safe park.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Going into the prisons and going into, the juvenile detention facilities and working with those brothers, they coming in there because they have to be in there, or they coming in because, they're on an incentive program and they've earned the right to come in, but they didn't necessarily want to be in some discipline activity. But after one session, you see them like, wow, Papa Kojo, when you coming back,
right. And so, it's obviously a way to transform communities. How do you think just a regular listener can do something like what you're doing? We have ideas, but sometimes it's hard for us to get into the communities. How do you think a regular listener can just, start their community work if they wanted to, start to transform communities and, get into the minds of people and get warrior spirit, out there and not just with a select few?
Well, I tell you one thing, and I learned this from going to Ghana and doing community work in Africa. I went in there with a lot of ideas of what I wanted to do because, I feel like I've been blessed with different skill sets that I can offer to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned right away. I told you what I did. I asked the elders when I got to the community, what's on your list? They told me. Now, some of those things may have lined up with what I wanted to bring, but the majority didn't because I don't know the needs of the community. So whatever community that you're in, you need to identify the needs of the community and work on where your role is in meeting those needs.
Right.
Now, once you identify that, then you can say, all right, well, let me work with some elders, or let me get with some other individuals who are on my level, or maybe, they've been in this a little bit longer, can help me fine-tune my packet that I want to present to the community so that it's quality and it's impacting and it's something that the community really feels.
I think that's key. Feels.
Yeah, they need to feel it. That's why when I go out there with the drums, you gotta feel it. When you come out and I invite you, I didn't just come out with a drum to entertain you. I got a van load of drums, so now you're gonna get to touch it and feel it. And now we're going to feel each other because I'm gonna
Right.
That's where people, I think, we drop the ball because we just go out there and do what we feel the community needs or what we want to do for the community.
Right. And haven't taken inventory of what the community actually needs.
And we didn't do that need assessment.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So do you have any upcoming events that people can attend and, see, because it's February, and see kind of what you guys are about, or can they sign up for classes, or, how can they get involved with either the Obey Foundation or Sounds of Africa?
Well, definitely up in Mount Vernon every Wednesday evening at the Akbar Center on 4th Avenue. It is a art center, art gallery. My family, they do a dance class, and it's really a healing circle. It's set up as an African dance and drum class, but it truly is a healing circle. And my father leads that, and one of my aunties is the dance instructor, Sister Sawu, and that is Wednesdays in Mount Vernon at Akbar from, I believe, they start at 6:30. They start coming together at 6:30, and then they end when they end. When that unity circle is done, that's when they finish. That's something that's sponsored by Obey Foundation. Each month, I do something in Connecticut. Most of the time, I'm at a private school called Connecticut Friends School, and we do a drum circle, which all the proceeds go towards our Obey Youth Care mission in Ghana.
Right.
And that's been going on for some years now. So if you go to Drums for Life and look at the calendar, it will give you the exact dates of those drum circles each month. And I'm there. We meet every Sunday, unless I'm traveling, and with my youth, we do a drum circle down in Charlotte at Hickory Grove Rec Center, starting at 3 o'clock. That's free, and we just ask that people go to our site and make a donation to the cause, if they're really feeling it. That's every Sunday down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Other than that, everything that we do in Black History Month is all with schools and with, like I said, corporations bringing us in, and private entities. We don't get a chance to do a lot of the things. We used to. When Sounds of Africa was really when all of us were up there in the tri-state area. We did rehearsals on a regular. So, I was really booking a lot of those public events. But then once we started scattering, and I kind of changed up where my base was going to be, bringing it down south, and we had to really change the way we were doing our bookings. So it's been working out though.
Right. That's amazing. And can people?
But definitely online. I mean, I know the listeners. They know. That's what you're all about right now with the radio show. So
Exactly.
Online is all about that online presence. So if you go to the website, you're going to be able to get to us. Whatever you need, whatever you want. If we can't do it, we're going to point you in the direction where you can get that support.
Exactly. Now, can people donate to the Obey Foundation? Like, even if they don't attend an event or they just want to make sure that it's thriving because you guys are doing such good work, can they donate?
Yes, definitely. You can donate through Obey Foundation site, or you can donate right through the Obey Youth Care site. And, some people have instructions of where they like their donation to go towards, and some others will just say we just want it for the general fund, like you just said. We want to make a contribution towards the efforts and what you've been doing. So definitely obeyfoundation.org and obeyyouthcare.org. Either one of those sites you can donate to.
Okay, awesome. And so one last thought, if you could leave our listeners with one last thought about drumming, spirituality, healing, connecting to the one, what would you say?
I would say, my father's always been big on teaching people that the drum and the heart are one. And, through my interviews of different master drummers, and particularly the drummers, I interviewed some dancers as well. Some of the drummers have crossed over to the ancestral realm by now. But one thing that was consistent through all the interviews was this thing about, you having a sincere heart when you get behind that drum, because it comes through. And if you're someone that has been trained on this drum, you're someone that really believes in the energy that you're putting out, you could really do some damage to people and to yourself if you're not coming from a righteous place. And so you gotta get your heart in the right place. You have to really be honest with yourself as to why I am sitting behind this drum. Because these vibrations are serious. Yeah, I mean, we all know that sound. It's vibrations and frequency. That's real. Yeah, there's no voodoo about that.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have an ancient traditional system. You have ancestors that was intentional. They put these rhythms and these instruments and these tonalities together to line us up with the elements. So you have all of that connected with it. So we have to do a personal assessment. Look to ourselves, look to my heart, and say, all right, before I get behind this drum, where am I? Where is my heart? Am I doing this just for ego? Maybe I'm doing it just because I want to hear myself. But be honest about that. If you're someone that really wants to get the full spiritual benefit from the drum, I say stay open and stay a student. Don't get involved with the ego tripping that drums will bring. Stay open, stay a student, and you subscribe to that. The older I get, the less I really know. You learn that we really don't know anything. It's really about staying open for what the one has for us all through our development. And it's the same with the drums. You can be a blazing drummer, have beautiful sound, but people just don't feel you. They just don't feel you. And you can be someone that, you just started drumming, but, man, you move people to tears when you play. You don't sound like these brothers coming in from the land, but you move people to tears when you play. What is that? So I think there's a balance that's needed in that. And our young people, when they're able to experience that, they all have the earphones on, the headphones on, now it's beats. So they got, the beats headphone on, and it's that drum that's banging through those headphones, connecting with their heart. When you come out there with the drum or you expose them to the drum, they make an immediate connection. They don't want to tell you that because of what it looks like, but they make the connection because that's what they listen to always. If your heart is in the right place, you're going to affect people all around you when you sit behind that drum. If your intention is really just about you, well, you know what? That is fine as well if you're just working on self-development and working on your healing. But eventually, the one wants you to be able to give. We got to be able to give. And you know me, my passion is with the young people. Right. So that's where I would start. Start with a self-assessment. Check your heart out. And align yourself with the divine energy.
I like that. And one last question based on what you said. What is something that you do before you sit behind the drum to either play for yourself or others?
Yeah, when I sit behind the drum, I would have already assessed my audience, whether it's an individual or a group. And the Most High just done that for me. It blessed me with being able to read without pulling out any tools. And I think all of us have that gift when we're open for it. And so my intention is really to bring need the drum, the ancestors, and the Rishas, and I'm just going to be open. You know, of course, I've been training, so I have a lot in my repertoire to pull from, but I really, I work hard at just keeping myself in conduit mode to just come through me to give this one or group what they need right now. And so, it sounds like a lot, but it happens in an instant because, this is what I do for a living. So it's not really a serious ritual where I got to pull out my patch and pat it 2 times and say this prayer and, I don't need to do that,
Right.
It all walks with me,
Right.
But that assessment of yourself and the assessment of who you're working with, it goes back to what you and I were talking about, where you got to do the needs assessment.
Right.
When you're working with people, you got to do that. You got to do that. I know a lot of listeners, there's someone who they have, let's say, influence over, or someone that looks to them for guidance, and it's so important that you have your intention and that you have your heart in the right place when you have someone that is looking to you like that.
Right. Right, exactly. Well, thank you so very much for speaking with us today. We greatly appreciate it. It was a word that I'm sure myself and many other listeners needed to hear.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share it with you all and your listeners.
Yes.
And what a wonderful medium and a format that you all are putting out there. Love what you all are doing. Much success in the future of the Anu Nation and what you're bringing to your listeners.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate that. That was the awesome Kojo Bey. For more information on Sounds of Africa and the Obey Foundation, please visit soundsofafrica.com. That is www.soundsofafrika.com. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Anu Asafo Show. Until next week, peace, family. We thank you for your listening support and urge you to become an active, participating member. For all those listening, if you'd like to gain a clearer and fundamental understanding of the Anu Order, be sure to pick up the book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Check out Anu Nation's new live video stream at www.youtube.com/Anu Nation. Make sure to subscribe at www.youtube.com/Anu Nation for the latest videos and information. To find out how you can become a student and member of the Anu Spiritual Order, please visit us at saduluhouse.com. That is SADULUHOUSE.com. Also, if you would like spiritual readings and assistance in your life as it pertains to your spiritual well-being and divine purpose, please use the contact and scheduling forms to schedule a consultation with our Chief Jugna, Haru Yuya Asan Anu. Those forms are located at orishareligion.com. That is ORISHARELIGION.com, as well as are at saduluhouse.com. Also, sign up for the Anu newsletter for the latest happenings in the Anu community. The Anu newsletter can be found by going to anunation.org. That is ANUNATION.org. If you'd like to become an on-air guest or sponsor on Anu Asafo or any of our other broadcasts, please be sure to contact us at questions@anunation.org. Once again, thank you for your continued support and be well.